Okay. Thanks, Matt. Thank Andrew. Thanks, Dan. Let's wait for my slides to come up here. Thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about Augmate, my company. We became Glass at Work certified last month, so I'll talk a little bit about that and some of the lessons learned along the way. Okay, so we see work differently, literally. We see work differently. We have a mission to essentially reduce the friction of getting wearables into the enterprise. We make applications for the deskless worker. Does anyone know what a deskless worker is? So, good. So these are warehouse pickers, the person on the assembly line, the factory floor. These are folks who need their hands to do their jobs, but could benefit from digital information. So we build applications for those types of people. The industrial verticals, it's a B2B company. The value propositions are around efficiency, accuracy, safety, those types of things. We're mostly focused on supply chain, so everything from product creation to product sale. So underneath supply chain, you have things like manufacturing, distribution, warehouse, logistics, and all the way through to retail, right, in stores. We found the most number of applications within those subsegments, at least for digital eyewear. So I'll talk a little bit about how our system works. You can kind of imagine, let's say, this here, product enterprise databases connected to the worker in a particular location. Together, those two things, we can really build some great digital eyewear applications. So we're able to use indoor positioning, some things, kind of Internet of Things of factory equipment, Bluetooth beacons, and that kind of thing for workplace triggers. So between that back-end data and the workplace, their location, we can put that together to do some pretty interesting things. Here, I'll give you an example. So let's say you're a warehouse picker, and warehouse picker, they essentially go in a warehouse, they pick up items to bring over to shipping for a customer. So we built an application that would tell the picker what items to get, where in the warehouse to go get them, and then they would do a barcode scan to ensure it was a one-for-one match for what came in on the web would be the thing that they picked. Now, what we can do is, if we know their location, we could say, okay, when you go to this particular spot, inventory hasn't been done on this area in a while. Do inventory at this time so you don't walk back later and spend another 5 minutes walking over to that location, right, to save a little bit of time. Likewise, if there's a really big warehouse, some of these warehouses are 1 million square feet, you might have 4 of those items in one location. So Bobby might be closer to these 4 items, and Sally might be closer to this other item. So it might make sense to split that task, right, and do it a little bit more efficiently. So there's opportunities when you know location and other things as well. So our product, we've got 2 parts of our software. We're device agnostic. We work across 7 different digital eyewear companies. So our SDK gives the ability to write the applications across the digital eyewear. They're all different in different respects. They've got different fields of view. Some are monocular. You can see these. These are Epson Moverios. They're binocular. Some are see-through. Some are opaque. This is a Vuzix M100. And our SDK allows you to build across the different digital eyewear. We also use wearables to assist with the menu and navigation of the applications. So these are applications that are anchored to your field of view. So it's less virtual information on a physical world object like AR, and it's more the application is wherever you look. And we found the user experience to be better like that. So we need to adjust for the different digital eyewear, and sometimes the wearables help with the menu and navigation, so going screen to screen with the eyewear. We also have aspects of modern APIs, so we'll connect to SAP or Oracle or some enterprise software and bring that data into the workflow screen. So there's elements of that within the SDK and some worker environment type things. So the use of Bluetooth beacons or indoor positioning. So we essentially do an enterprise license on the SDK. We also have an analytics platform that's more of a SaaS-based model. And as far as the analytics platform, so never before in history has there been this opportunity to have workers having these devices. So they have a number of sensors on them, so we've got an ability to capture that kind of information, which can be really useful. On top of it, within our applications, we can measure things like time on task, which might be important for management or different kinds of applications. Okay, so early on, these devices weren't really enterprise ready. So we spent about 1.5 years just doing R&D. So just figuring out all the things that could be done with the devices, different software that could run on it, experimenting with different kinds of applications. And we realized after 1.5 years, we had a lot of knowledge. So we ended up turning that around and using that as part of our consulting practice. So if we were to go to a CIO, CTO for a day, we'd be able to educate them pretty readily on new technology. So you could turn around and sell things that you might have not even realized that you could end up selling. So education was part of it. I'll skip through this one. This is just some of our investors. But if anyone's looking to do a startup company, you might want to build a team and actually pay them. So it helps to raise money. If anyone has any questions on it, we raised $3 million. I could give advice on how to build a pitch deck and how to order it, those types of things. I'm sure Matt could too. Okay, so let's get to it. Glass at work. So last month we became certified, and the process was essentially we had to show them our technology, the kind of applications that we were building. We had to show them our business model, kind of the market that we were addressing, the market size, how we plan to monetize, all those types of things. So they were interested in all of that. On top of it, they were also interested in talking with customers where we've implemented solutions at 2 customer sites. So, of course, they wanted to see it in production, customers using it. They wanted to interview those customers to see if it was really efficient for those customers. And after they were satisfied with all those things, then you sign a contract. So there's 10 companies, I think, that are Glass at Work certified in the world, and we're one of them. So I'm going to show a video here. This was during the design phase at a company called nuts.com. Can you guess what they sell? They sell nuts. So early on, we do a site assessment, really understand things like time and motion, lighting conditions, noise levels, the steps that workers take, like physical steps and also process steps of what it takes to do their job. So we collect all that information and then put together a use case. Now, the final application ended up being fairly close to this, this rendering. We actually did this design before we actually started coding, but it ended up being pretty close to this. So there's about a 30% time on task efficiency when information is in your field of view. So in other words, if you don't have to reference a paper-based manual, a laptop, or some other system, obviously you're going to be quicker time on task, right? So that's kind of the whole theory behind digital eyewear applications. Now that was the solution. Oops. So let me tell you what the problem was. So that was the solution that we ended up doing. So their problem was they had these big bulky scanners that were like iPhones. And what they would do with product is they'd have like a 10-pound box of something, and they'd be holding it in one hand and scanning it with the other hand. So inevitably, they'd be spilling product, and this was food. They've got 200 products, candy, nuts, different things. They'd be dropping the scanner. I don't know if you could see this, but there's cracks all within the scanner. So every single one of their scanners had cracks in it, or it would be in service for repair. So there was obviously problems with their scanners. So what we did was we ended up finding a better scanner, which was a finger scanner. And you'd say, well, what kind of solution, is that? But here's what the situation was. We ended up putting a finger scanner on, and so the finger scanner ended up working a lot better. And essentially what we did was we offloaded the processing and display to Google Glass. So what I'm not really highlighting here is the pain that we went through to figure this out. We originally tried doing the barcode scan within the camera, the optical scanner, or the camera that was on digital eyewear, right? So after burning through about 6 weeks, we realized it just wasn't working. And the issue is, maybe it's obvious, after the fact, but essentially, when you use a finger scanner, you've got multiple hinges, right? You've got knuckles, you've got a wrist, you've got elbow, you've got a shoulder. So ergonomically, it's easier to hit a barcode by doing this than moving your head right in front of a barcode. So after about 6 weeks, we figured that out. We were doing research on different kinds of scanners and put together a report. So looking at lighting conditions, angle of incidence, people are different heights, right? Really comparing all these scanners across each other to determine which one was best. So we found one that was good. We implemented that one. We offloaded the processing, put the display on Google Glass. And along the way, we actually learned a lot about Bluetooth pairing. So I guess that was a side benefit of doing this project. It was a pretty comprehensive report. This is just a snapshot of the first top page. But we collected this information, and this will be useful on other projects as well. OK, so I'll show a couple of screenshots of these applications that we do. So we call this WX, Wearable Experience. So some people would be, they'd understand UX, user experience. We call it WX. Maybe we'll coin that term. In this case, this was a picture of the inventory application on nuts.com. And essentially what we believe is digital information is not where it's needed or expected. So by putting this application on digital eyewear, it allows us to put digital information in a useful place. Something else I could tell you is that there's a limited amount of real estate on these screens, right? So you have to be kind of in the understanding of managing and framing of information. And you're not going to read 5 paragraphs on these things, right? This is kind of Twitter mentality. This is like information snacking. And from an efficiency standpoint, you have to say what's the shortest amount of time that a person could look at something, get the information they need to complete a task. Just real quickly, on the end side of supply chain, there's retail. So there's an ability to, so for example, connect to a product database. This kind of goes with what we believe digital information is not where it's needed or expected. So there's product databases that populate a website. So if you go to Walmart or Home Depot or something, you could put in a search term of a product and get great information. The problem is that information's not in the store. So giving the ability of, let's say, a sales associate to tap into that, they can tell customers things like, the cross-sell and upsell opportunities. What's the value of that product? It got 4.4 stars out of 5 stars. Here are some customer reviews. People who bought this also bought this. This is all great information that you can now supply to, let's say, a sales associate. Also in manufacturing, we found applications. So machine-to-human communication. There's Bluetooth sensors on these devices, on this factory equipment. So you could tell things like uptime, vibration, temperature, error codes, maintenance schedule. You could store the manuals on equipment. So this is all information that could be communicated to operators of assembly lines and that kind of thing. So you can see there's a lot of applications for digital eyewear. I put a couple startup tips in here real quick. If anyone's interested, I could talk about this afterwards. But hire well, seek top talent, be uncompromising. Culture, we're very protective of our developers and engineers. We think that's really super important. Founding team should be passionate, dedicated, smart, hardworking. Lean startup. We worked out of a coffee shop for the first 9 months because they had free Wi-Fi. And you could read the rest, but anyway, here's some of my startup tips. Happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. So a few questions. So from my perspective, I was curious, what do you think the state of readiness of the market is for something like this? I mean, it's super exciting, it's clear where the world is going, but are people ready for this? To which extent is it still experimentation, and to which extent is it so almost at production level?
Yeah, so just like in the consumer market, there's early adopters with companies, and so typically the folks that reach out to us within the CIO or CTO office, there'll be a strategy or innovation team. So oftentimes those are the folks that give us the call, and their sole mission is to evaluate emerging technology to see how it applies to business units. So usually after some sort of demonstration, we see, they'll connect us to a champion or sponsor in the company who, they've got a pain point that this could solve, and that's typically how it starts. So CTOs are putting together their 2015 strategy, and wearables is a part of it for a number of companies.
Incredible how quickly this is evolving. In the back.
Do you see yourself more as a systems integrator or as a platform?
Yeah, so more as a platform, and we're going to look like a services company this year, but we're really, obviously, we want to make a highly productized and scalable solution. And the reason that we end up going to customer sites and everything is to learn as much as possible. So we want to spend time. It's easy for me to talk to, let's say, a CIO and talk to them about the value proposition and efficiency, but we want to spend time with the workers who are actually doing the jobs so that we fully understand the use of the devices and how they can be used to improve performance.
To that point, I'm David Case from Citrix Systems. To the point about scalability of these devices, I think a big thing for enterprises is the ability to manage them. And you mentioned MDM. To what extent are you involved in MDM, and how robust do you think it is at this time for wearables?
It is at absolute zero. So MDM, so for mobile device management, you have to think about things like if you want to roll this out to scale, right, you need charging stations, right? If you're going to deliver hundreds of these things to companies, we're in a pilot right now. I won't get into who the customer is, but with a successful pilot, it'll go out to 10,000 users. So you have to start thinking about charging stations. Are you going to license the hardware, or are they going to buy the hardware? What does user management look like? How do you work with the IT department for encryption, and how much load on the system is it going to take? All sorts of things like that. There's a lot of issues, and we actually have been spending 10 weeks just internally focused just to address that whole part of it, the enterprisability of it. So you can't deliver really great digital eyewear applications without a fantastic foundation, and that's the foundation that you need in order to do it.
Cool. All right. One last quick one.
What's been the feedback from the workers themselves? Is there any, do they see it as a useful tool, or is there any resistance to use it?
We've maybe stacked the deck a little bit, so they tend to pick people who are technically savvy. So it might be, sometimes, a younger workforce or someone who uses mobile quite a bit or something. So the feedback's been really positive. The way I look at it is it's kind of Darwinism, right? So in other words, if we've got a worker who's faster, more efficient, more accurate, they save more time, they save more money, all these things compared to their, let's say, peers in competition, you know, it's either you can try to beat them or join them, right, with the technology. And so from an adoption standpoint, we believe the technology will just propagate just from that standpoint, not only within a company, but from competition, you know, to other companies, right? So it's just a natural progression.
Great, that's all the time we have, but thank you very much, and you'll be around after this?
Yeah, a little bit, sure.
For sandwiches and beer?
Nice.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.